So Mark Levin, as I reported yesterday, was getting all these ridiculous ad hominem lewd attacks by Megyn Kelly. He has been criticising Megyn Kelly's views, things she's been saying, her strange defence of Candace Owens, yet somehow trying to act as if she is defending Erica Kirk at the same time. And I want to talk to you about that in a moment. I want to show you some clips of Megyn that seem to just show there's clearly a disparity between what she says and what she does. And Mark Levin, after facing numerous ad hominem attacks, meaning attacking his, elements, immutable characteristics that he has, Megyn kept talking about micro penis Mark. It's so childish and really, I found quite revealing, to be honest, showing that she's just kind of following those groiper tactics of just outrage, clickbait, rage bait content in order to get as many views as possible. Mark Levin decides to address this and speak out about it, which he does. I want to show you what he said. By the way, before I do that, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Many of you have subscribed, but a lot of the viewers don't. And when you do, it really helps us get our videos out there in the algorithm to grow faster and get more of this content out there. So please do hit the subscribe button, like our videos, comment, hype our videos. All these things really help. Let's see what Mark had to say, and then we've got some more stuff to show you from Megyn. Have a watch.
If we lose the midterm elections, it'll be for a number of reasons, but certainly because of them. Carlson has already said MAGA's dead. Carlson wants nothing to do with the Republican Party. Well, what's he doing then? Same with the others. Bannon is a bomb thrower, not for good reasons, for bad reasons, for his own self-aggrandizement. Megyn Kelly is just a disaster, a walking disaster. And she's gone from loving me and stalking me to her claim that I'm stalking her, and now she wants to talk about body parts. All right, look. So what went on in the past few days was I wasn't going to just surrender to this crowd of bullies, this gang. I'm defending the president. I'm defending our troops. I'm defending this war effort, not because I'm knee-jerk about it, because I believe in all of them. I believe this regime needs to be destroyed. This regime needs to be changed. This regime killed 50,000 innocent young people. This regime has killed over 1,000 Americans and probably 10,000 casualties. This regime, directly and through its surrogates, has blown up our embassies. It's blown up a Marine barracks and slaughtered everybody there. It's tried to assassinate our president. This regime is hell-bent on having nuclear weapons, putting nuclear warheads on ICBMs that can reach our country and blow us off the face of the earth. And because I know, more than these other people who don't study it, the ideology of this 7th century Islamist terrorist access, I am certain that they will do what I say they're going to do. And I don't know how much more evidence we need by the way they slaughter people and who they slaughter and how they slaughter them and their ambitions to conquer the entire region. And they believe, and they've been told to believe, that the only way their Messiah comes to earth is if every disbeliever is eliminated or converts. That's the bottom line. We are a target. You see it in our own country. You see the terrorist attacks in our own country. Where did this ideology come from? Exactly where I told you. It comes mostly from the Middle East, but it comes from Iran and Qatar and Saudi Arabia and their ilk. But Iran wants nuclear weapons. It doesn't want nuclear weapons because it's scared of somebody. It wants nuclear weapons to shoot them, to use them. I am not prepared to take that risk. Most of you are not prepared to take that risk. We have kids. Some of you have grandkids.
By the way, it's an interesting point where he says that he wants them to shoot them. That's a bit of a differentiator between that Iran and North Korea. North Korea want nuclear weapons, one would assume primarily so that they can be untouchable as a regime. But Iran wants to bring the apocalypse. Big difference.
Kids. It is the responsibility of this generation to protect the next generation. That's our job. first and foremost over everything else. That's the president's job. That's Congress's job. That's our military's job. So when you undermine them and backstab them, like the Democrats are doing, like the Islamists and the Marxists are doing, and like this neo-fascist isolationist right is doing, you're threatening our very survival. And you have no notion of what you're talking about. You're conspiracy nuts. God knows if you're being paid by somebody or what the hell's going on. And so this was the big battle. And then I am attacked, you see, because I'm the great threat, because I'm not going to back down. I've been around a long time. I've written about this. I've talked about this on every type of platform I can think of. The president agrees. I didn't have to convince the president. I didn't take us to war, as one of these fools claims. This is Mark Levin's war. How pathetically stupid is that? And demeaning of Donald Trump and our troops. I give my opinion, whether I'm asked by the president or whether I'm behind this microphone. I have no official governmental role. I can't take us to war. Or it's Bibi Netanyahu took us to war. Or the Jews and the Israelis dragged us into the war. Really? For 47 years, that regime, first they start by taking our hostages, Americans. They attack us. It has nothing to do with Netanyahu and Israel or me. They attack, they kill and kill. They try to assassinate our president and so forth and so on. Israel is a great ally. They're fighting alongside us. Look at Spain and Britain and France and so many of these other countries. Look at Turkey, which really is rooting for the wrong side, the other side, because it is the other side. Here we have an ally. They fight along our side. They are warriors. They are brave. They easily integrate into our military system, and we with them. And they've been praised by the president. They're praised by the Secretary of Defense. What's to attack? But they do it nonetheless. And so Tucker feels like he's personally lost. It's not about him. It's not about me. Bannon flipped. He used to call himself a Christian Zionist. Now he sees the grifting as the other way. So now he's outright, in my view, an anti-Semite. They really all are. And they're also anti-American, in my view, fundamentally. In so many ways, they keep trashing the country. And Megyn Kelly, to me, is very unhinged. And she's decided, I'm going for the grift. I couldn't hold a job. I was pushed out by NBC. I'm doing really well here. I've got a channel named after me. I'm sticking by Candace Owens, who's the lowest of the lowlives. And I'm sticking with my buddy, Tucker. And I'm going to platform all these kooks and everything else, too. And she puts out these posts and so forth that are just vile. Childish, but vile. It really makes me wonder if she is really well. I'm just telling you my opinion. Many of you see what's going on. You're reading what's going on. Well, to my absolute surprise, 100% surprise, I haven't talked to the president in weeks. I get a text from Sean Hannity, one of my best friends. And all it says is, wow. I said, wow. And then these texts start coming in and emails start coming in. The President of the United States posted something last night. And this is what he posted. I wasn't even aware that he was aware of what was going on. He posts this. Mark Levin, a truly great American patriot, is somewhat under siege by other people with far less intellect, capability, and love for our country. I'm not reading this to brag about it. I'm reading this because I want to show you what a fantastic human being this is. With everything he's doing, everything he's
That's interesting, by the way. So it sounds like Mark is saying he didn't speak to the president, as Megyn Kelly claimed that, Mark called the president and said, hey, will you stick up for me online? That the president of his own volition decides to say something.
Did this. Mark is tough, strong, and brilliant, hence the nickname The Great One, conceived by our MAGA friend, the wonderful Sean Hannity, after years of dealing with Mark in legal, media, and other capacities. Mark would often do Sean's show, speaking as a lawyer, and Sean realized then, as did others, that he was special. Mark Levin was not looking to do television, radio, or anything else. That's all true. But he was drafted by very smart people who understood that there are few like him. He's a true conservative, and intellect, far smarter than those who criticize him, but above all, he's a man of great wisdom and common sense who truly loves our country. When you hear others unfairly attack Mark, remember that they are jealous and angry human beings whose sway, quote-unquote, is much less than the public understand and will, now that they know where I stand, rapidly diminish. Other than for his wonderful wife and family, the president adores Julie. Mark Levin only cares and wants one thing: greatness and success for America, and I feel that way about the president. Those that speak ill of Mark will quickly fall by the wayside, as do the people whose ideas, policies, and footings are not sound. They are not MAGA, I am. And MAGA includes not allowing Iran, a sick, demented, and violent terrorist regime, to have a nuclear weapon to blow up the United States of America, the Middle East, and ultimately the rest of the world. MAGA is about stopping them cold, and that is exactly what we are doing. God bless our great military, which I have rebuilt since the beginning of my first term, to achieve everlasting peace through strength. Make America great again. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. I mean, speechless. A president of the United States to write something like this? I don't know that he's ever done it before, but I can tell you, I've never had anybody write anything like that. And to put it on Truth Social because he wants the whole world to see it? And I spoke to him briefly afterwards. I called him. I'm not going to get into that because unlike others, I don't believe when you speak to the president, if he calls you or you call him, then you should go publicly and start blurting things out unless he thinks it's a good idea. Maybe you should talk about something. That's fine. But not on this. I just want you to know he's really a truly remarkable man. As a president and as a person, despite all the propaganda and all the rest of it. He knows these headlines that are intended to get eyes from the aggregator sites and some of the tabloids and the rest. He knows they're BS. This poor guy has to deal with it 1,000 times a day. And he brilliantly came up with fake news because that's what it is. But
amazing stuff.
I want to assure you, I'm not going anywhere. These people are not getting to me.
Amazing stuff from Mark Levin and from President Trump, quite frankly. A few reflections I have to share on this before I show you this clip from Megyn Kelly. The first thing is, it's quite sad, to be honest, that some of these, staunch conservative-leaning figures seem to be so unprincipled. And just as a side thought, really, it's just a bit sad that people can be so easily swayed to just do whatever they think the audience will celebrate, even if it's totally immoral. I'm sure they know that it's not right. I just find that a bit of a sad state of affairs, to be honest. Great to see, on the other hand, people like Mark Levin saying he won't be cowed by any of this, but more importantly, President Trump. President Trump may see that there's a bit of a divide in parts of the MAGA right, and yet he is being absolutely staunch on what he believes is right. The other point in reflection that I want to have is that I find it bizarre, but it's also really notable, that people like Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson and Candace and others will say, hey, we're for America, not for the Jews or for Israel. It's so interesting that actually, in reality, when you turn your back on Israel or the Jews, it's so often a sign that you're doing what's not in the interest of your country, but actually destroying your country, because often what's best for, let's say, Israel and the Jews, and blessing them and supporting them in your country or as a state and being allied with them, brings for you blessing as well. And it's no accident that a nation that says that we want to be built on these Judaic biblical values, you're going to face the same enemies. So so this whole idea that, fighting Iran is fighting Israel's wars and not America's wars. No, quite the opposite. The reason why Iran is focused, its enemies, on Israel and America is because they represent the fundamental opposition, the ultimate arch opposition to Islamist extremism, which is the Bible. They embody darkness, evil, and so they look at their enemies and they say, well, where do we find our enemies? Well, they turn to Israel and they turn to America. If America chooses, nope, well, we don't stand on those, with Israel. We don't recognize any of that as being part of our identity. We want to take out the Judeo from Judeo-Christian in our identity. Far from thinking that that's going to be putting your country first, that's going to lead your society to crumble. As Marx so sensitively and sensibly points out in his monologue, there's such an obvious alignment of interests between America and Israel in this war against Iran. If you can't see that Iran sees Israel in its short-term sights and America in its more distant sights, but absolutely as an enemy that they wish to confront in an apocalyptic battle, then you're just not tuned in, to be quite frank. And so I think what Mark said was very fair, very reasonable. And it is such a truth of life that when you turn against the Jews as an individual or as a society, it's a sign that you are going down a path that will lead to your own corruption, your own destruction. Because the Jews are meant to be the vessel for God's morality, his ways, his light, his path towards blessing. So when it says, I'll bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you in the Torah, it's not saying that as like a threat. It's saying this is a consequence of Israel are going to be my vessel for the world, the vessels that bring my vision for the world, my light to the world, my presence into this world. And this teaches you how to have a blessed life, a blessed society, a blessed world. If you turn your back on that, if you curse them, then don't be surprised if you enter darkness and corruption and dismay and despair and all that. It's not there to threaten. It's just a reality. We actually put on JTV Plus, our streaming platform, an interview with Rabbi and historian Ken Spiro on the topic of I'll bless those who bless you, how history links nations' fortunes to their treatment of Jews. You can really track a direct link to all of that. So definitely worth checking that out. We'll put a link to that in the video description. But I want to share with you a clip that someone posted from Megyn Kelly. This was just after maybe a couple months after Charlie Kirk died. And if you listen to her tone here about how she cares about nothing more than wanting to protect Erica Kirk, but it actually turns out she really wasn't that close with her before Charlie's death. And since that point, she literally just afterwards said that, hey, Ben Shapiro's saying that Candace is implicating Erica in Charlie's death, and that's not true. Turns out that, no, that's exactly what Candace is doing. She made a whole series on the bride of Charlie, right? Some sick, twisted documentary series that seems to be clearly rooted in resentment and jealousy. But Megyn Kelly refuses to call out Candace because she's a young mother. Isn't Erica Kirk also a young mother that's just become a widow and a single mother of 2 children? Look at what Megyn says here in this clip.
Charlie, because that's when she and I became friends. I had met Erica prior to Charlie's death, but we didn't know each other. And since then, I have had this incredible urge. It's a strange urge because I have this huge urge to take care of her, to make sure that nothing happens to her, not from the media scoundrels, not from the terrible leftists who are hating, and certainly not from anybody who actually wishes to do her or her children, God forbid, any harm. But I also have, at the same time, this wish to be near her so she can heal me. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know, you guys, like, I kind of feel like this whole tour, try not to get emotional already, was in part to heal me, and maybe some of you too. You know what I mean? We suffered a severe loss in September, a severe loss that affected us all, I think, very deeply and profoundly, but no one more than Erica and their 2 children.
I really don't know what to say. I'll leave it for you in the comments section. Let me know what you think about that clip, because given how Megyn now refuses to call out Candace, and she says, screw anyone that tells me I have to call out Candace because of, I have to do this in the name of Israel, which has nothing to do with anything. It's got nothing to do with Israel. It's got to do with someone libeling a widow. in her hour of need. The whole thing is sick. By the way, before we finish, on a positive note, I'm so thrilled to share with you that we have just dropped a brand new documentary on JTV+. One of the things that people on the far right, like Candace Owens, people on the far left, and the Islamists will do is say that Zionism and Judaism are diametrically opposed. They're opposites. They have nothing to do with one another. I'm not against Israel. I'm not against Judaism. I'm just against Israel, just against Zionism. Well, it turns out that this separation is complete nonsense. Have a watch the trailer for our new documentary called Zionism and Judaism, The False Separation. And if you want to watch the full thing, you can click the link below in the video description. This one is really important. I'm not against Judaism, I'm just against Zionism.
It's not Jewish, it's Zionism.
Judaism and Zionism are completely separate.
Judaism is a faith, Israel is a state.
You can be Jewish without being a Zionist.
Zionism and Judaism is totally diametrically opposed.
I'm sure you've heard this before, from protesters, from politicians, from even well-meaning people trying to navigate the Israel-Palestine debate. But I'm here to tell you that this separation is complete nonsense. It's a comfortable lie. The kind of lie that sounds intelligent but collapses the moment you actually open this book, the Torah, the Bible, and study Judaism on its own terms. In this JTV Plus documentary, we're going to tackle this myth head on. We'll actually look inside the Torah and see how in the very first book, Genesis, there's no mention of law or religion. It's all centered on the promise of a specific land to a specific nation. We'll trace how Judaism, not modern politics, but Judaism itself, is structured around one obsessive, relentless, undeniable claim: the land of Israel belongs to the Jews. We'll reveal why the building of a nation in the land of Israel is an indispensable part of the project of Judaism. Why Judaism is not a religion, it's the divine project of a nation in a land. We'll discover how the Torah preemptively answered the colonization accusation that wouldn't fully materialize for another 3,000 years. We'll explore why, if the land is so central, Jews had to spend thousands of years in global exile. We'll unpack what Zionism actually means, and how anti-Zionism doesn't just contradict Israeli policy, it contradicts the fundamental architecture of Judaism itself. For some people, this is going to be uncomfortable viewing, but by the end, we'll prove beyond any reasonable doubt that Judaism and Zionism are inseparable. To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.